Hey guys, Gojira here. Welcome back to another Call Warhammer Beginning of the End Times 1.5 Beta Preview 1v1. I haven't uploaded in a while. I went to my cousin's down in San Francisco for about a week, and then as soon as I came back, immediately got sick, and my voice was trashed, and my everything was trashed, and I was out for a few weeks. Um, I know you guys are probably feeling the anticipation at this point. Um, there is gonna be a new version, hopefully soon. Can't confirm anything, but the devs are working their way up to a polished, a bit more polished version here. Until then, we're rocking with this little build we got right now, and hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1. So I'm gonna leave a timestamp down below for if you want to skip right to the battle. I'm gonna go over army comps real fast, and here we go. So I'm playing as the Dark Elves today. I'll be playing against tomdoof, one of the mod devs themselves. I'll be playing as Dark Elves. I brought a main line of 4 Dread Spears, just 4 Dread Spears, 4 Dark Shards, and a Blackguard of Nagaron. 2 Cold One Chariots with 3 HP. They have repeater crossbowmen on them, and they are pretty beastly in melee. Along with these Cold One Knights who have 2 HP, they're really good on the charge, and they have a bit of staying power with that 2 HP, but they can get picked apart by other elite cavalry as well. And that's about it for my army. tomdoof over here is rocking the Orcs and Goblins. He has about 4 Orc Boars. 4 Orc Boars as his main line, then a backup of 4 Savage Orc Boars, then 3 Orc Error Boars, a Rock Lava, which is they're pretty decent in this patch, guys. They can do a lot of damage. And about, I want to say 2 Orc Boar Big Uns here in the trees, along with like 4, yeah, another Orc Boar Big Uns Bodyguard. It's a slightly smaller unit, but it costs less. And 4 Orc Boar Boars in the middle, making up a pretty large cavalry force. You don't see that too often with Orcs and Goblins. In this mod, you usually see about 2 Orc Big Guns, and that's usually about it. So, let's hop in. This replay starts out pretty fast, if it starts at all. I'm going to be moving up my guys because I do see the Rock Lava, and the Rock Lava will tear through guys fast if you don't get your butt in gear. So I'm going to start moving up my Cold Ones and the Chariots. At first, I do not notice his Orc Boars and the Big Guns in there. I will notice sometime around here, but there's not much I can do because, as you can see, I'm beelining for his weak units because he has no support over here whatsoever. So I'm just going to go in and try to get as juicy as charges as possible with these Chariots and Cold One Knights, eviscerating this unit, just routing him right off the field. Then, oh yeah, nice. I'm just going to charge these guys straight up into here, but in that return, tomdoof is going to turn around and splice from the side, just kind of the same idea as I had. But he has to keep in mind that Orc Boar Big Guns, or Orc Boar Boys and Big Guns, aren't as deadly or as combat effective as these Cold One Chariots and Cold One Knights can be. They're very durable, the Orc Boar Big Guns, but he only brought 2 units of them, and he's going up against an all-spear army. All including my front line, are just all made up of spears. They're going to get into spear formation and block that charge, so they'll hold out for a while my Dark Shards can fire in. And even though these Dark Shards are getting pretty trounced on, ooh, I did forget, he did bring some Orc Boar Chariots, but you'll see how little they actually do in this battle. My Chariots are just eviscerating his back line here, just running down these Savage Orcs as they try to get into melee combat. These Dark Shards are firing in on the melee front and mostly into the cavalry to try to kill them. But you can see the carnage that these Dark Shards can create, especially with backed up by some spears. They can fire in whilst they're in melee combat and just shred. I'm trying to mop up as much as I can in the back line. His melee force is doing alright in the center. They are cracking down on these Dread spears won't stand a chance in prolonged combat with black orcs and all those heavy melee infantry. My chariots are running around trying to smack some big guns and some more big guns. His chariots, however, orc chariots do not do well. They're not the greatest units currently, because even they don't knock over as many models as Cold One chariots do. I think maybe there might be a difference between melee chariots and missile chariots, but I don't think there is. I think it's just maybe their combat stats are lesser. I do get a nice juicy rear charge into the savage orcs and the orc bodyguard, and I'm kind of crumbling in on them. His backline was totally washed out by these cold ones and cold one knights, and my dark shards were able to just shoot to shit his boar boys. And his boar boys, they're in melee now, but they're not going to be in melee for too much longer. They may rout or just die soon. And his front line, without any big guns or black orc support, just kind of faltered. I'm getting cold ones into more more archers, but I think it's a GG at this point. His main core is routed, although I don't have a lot left either, to say the least. But I'm gonna get in for one last rear charge. My blackguard are now facing off on his general and just crushing in. And that should about wrap it up, guys. We are gonna continue to run through some of these orc error boys. My chariots took a few losses here. Not that one. One of them did. No. Yeah, no. A few of them took some losses. I think they count for 3 each. 3 units in one, so yeah, this lost about half its unit. And Tom, GG to Tom. He brought a very interesting army. He brought a massive cav force, which for greenskins I don't think I could advise at this point in time in the patch we are in right now, because their cav is just so lightly armored. You kind of need to get really good charges with them in order. The rock lava still has some shots left. Let's see here. You need to get really good charges with them in order for them to be cost effective. Like the regular boars are hard to get kills with, and the boar big guns are actually good for kind of prolonged combat, but they're not the most devastating cav there is. And when you're kind of trading blows like that, where one flank is getting overwhelmed by your opponent and then you're overwhelming one of their flanks, you definitely want to make sure you have the punchiest, the most power in your side, because that will basically determine. Tom is a minute defeat there, GG. That'll determine who wins pretty much, because if you can kill more of their army before they kill the rest of your army, there you go. Let's take a look at the kills here. You can see Blackguard did alright. Dread Spears were the good wall I needed them to be. Cold One Chariots, beastly. All my cav did fairly well for themselves. They were up against very juicy targets. There's only a few cav on cav engagements in this game, because most of them got shot up by dark shards, and then the rest of my cav was just charging his rear and harassing him whilst he was charging into melee. And the dark shards did well, of course, because all those kills aren't super high, but they were on cav, and that was the main threat that army posed. The orc arbors can be dangerous, but with the extreme reload time of the dark shards, there's really no chance that they could out-skirmish me either. That's a good thing about the dark elves. The one drawback I think dark elves do have are the melee infantry, because their melee infantry is good and it will hold for a while, but you definitely need an inspire troop like a Blackguard of Nagaron or a Blood Cauldron, I believe it's called, that have the Witch Elf of Cain unit in it, because if you don't, their mid-tier units like the spears and the bleak swords will falter fairly quickly when they're outmatched, and they get outmatched fairly often by other elite infantry because they cost around like 1,400, and then other elite infantry only cost about like 600 more. But the thing is, Witch Elves of Cain are kind of the elite infantry along with Harganeth executioners. I'll talk about the Harganeth executioners and stuff in another date. But basically, Witch Elves are just really low armor. They're really beastly in melee, but they can just get shot to pieces so quickly. And they obviously die to cav really easy, so they're kind of glass cannony. And you have to be careful when you're bringing like a heavy infantry army with Dark Elves. It's a very risky thing. Um, anyways, guys, me rambling on about nonsense. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one, guys. Peace.